we begin. Let's go to Daniel chapter 11, verse 1. Daniel chapter 11, verse 1. So what I'm going to attempt to do is I'm going to try and explain the battle that was mentioned in the morning again, right? And I'll try to go as slow as possible because this is the last presentation of the day. And I know people are fried down by now, right? So Daniel 11, verse 1. Daniel 11, verse 1. Can someone read Daniel 11, verse 1 for me?
Also in the first year of Darius, also I in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood to confirm him, to strengthen him. Verse 2.
Verse 2. So what is that identifying? We've dealt with Daniel in verse 1 in many presentations now. What is it identifying?
Time of the end.
Time of the end, right? And what in my presentation, what have I been emphasizing? The time of the end. And I was saying that the book of Daniel is emphasizing more than anything else the time of the end. And we've been identifying that it is in the United States of America. And it's not an accident that after we've been given the time of the end in Daniel 11 verse 1, the story is about the Medes and the Persians. Right? Good. Verse 2.
And now will I show thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the 4 shall be far richer than they all.
I want you to pause there. He says that, and now I shall show you the truth. So he keeps mentioning the truth. Right? Gabriel keeps mentioning the truth. He says, and now I will show you the truth. Behold, there shall stand yet 3 kings in Persia. Right? And the 4th shall be far richer than they all. And by his strength and through his riches, he shall stir up against the realm of Grecia. And he's going to use 2 things against the realm of Grecia. His strength, military might. And his riches, economic, which is the symbol of the United States. Right? But what I want you to do is let's go backtrack a little bit. Let's go back to Daniel chapter 10, verse 20. Okay, let's start at verse 14. Then go to 20. Verse 14. Now I am come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days. In the latter days is the time of the end. And Daniel 10 verse 1 is the latter days. Right? For yet the vision is for many days. Verse 20. Then said he, knowest thou wherefore I come unto thee, and now I will return and fight or stand with the prince of Persia. So I'm going to return and stand with the prince of Persia, the USA, right? And when I am gone forth, lo, the prince of Grecia shall come. Right? So he keeps on adding flesh to this, that I'm going to deal with the USA, but after the USA, who's going to come? The 10 kings, the UN. And the Grecia here, that is being mentioned here in 10:20 is different from the Grecia that's going to be mentioned in 11:2. And this is what my brother was trying to explain. Right? That the United Nations begins to rise here. The 7th kingdom Bible prophecy. Its transition begins here. And that is what Daniel 10:20 is identifying. Right? Verse 21. But I will show thee which is noted in the scripture of truth. Verse 2. I will show thee the truth. Right? And there is none that will with me in these things except Michael, your prince. Right? So this, then in verse 2, it says this. Behold, they shall stand up what? 3 kings in Persia. And the 4th shall be far richer than they all. And by his strength and through his riches, he shall stay up all against the realm of Grecia. So, he mentioned that there are going to be 3 kings, and the 4th shall stay up against all the realm of Grecia. Right? So, this 4th king is going to do it against the realm of Grecia. And what I was identifying is this, that this 4th king was not the first king to deal with Grecia. It started with the father, or the guy who established the kingdom, Cyrus. But Cyrus for Cyrus it was not so much of stirring up, but it was the beginning of him subjugating the nation of Greece. Are we together? I don't want to lose anyone there before I move. Right, so what happens at the time of the end? Right, so let's give you a brief synopsis. At the time of the end, Cyrus comes and he besieges Babylon. Right? But when he besieges Babylon, he conquers Babylon. Then he starts conquering other states. And he conquers the Grecian states, the ones at the edge of, because there was, I'll just sketch a map, right? It's not a very good map. So, this will be Persia, right? And then this will be a sea. I'm forgetting the name of the sea. Does anyone know the name of the sea? No one knows the sea.
Is it not the Ionian Sea?
No. So there's the sea, and then you start getting Greek states here. So for Persia to come in and attack, they need to cross the sea to go there. So it was a very daunting task, and they couldn't use infantry alone. They have to use naval first, then get there, then dismantle the troops, and then start conquering. So what Cyrus did is he made a voyage here, and he besieged the first king, the cities and the kingdoms of Greece that were at the borders. He didn't go inland, right? But he besieged, and they became under Persian control. But he didn't do for all of the states, right? Mm-hmm. So this is what is happening at the time of the end with Cyrus. Right? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Let's go to Prophets and Kings 90 paragraph 2. Prophets and Kings 90 paragraph 2. So what you see, you're understanding what is happening in this history. At the time of the end, the first king deals with Grecia, right? But he is subjugating Grecia. He's putting clamps, restraining. I'll use the term restraining. Yet Grecia is restrained at the time of the end. There's a restraint that is put on Grecia, or on the states of Grecia, or on the states of the king of the south. So there's a restraint that is put there, right? And when this restraint is put there, you get the first king who comes after him, Cambyses. There is peace, right? Then after Cambyses, the second king, Badia, or forced marriages, there is still peace. There is no revolt yet, right? Then under Darius, the third king, there's going to be a revolt. And this revolt, it includes the annexing of Ionia back to the Grecians. Or it includes the removal of the restraint of one of the states that have been bound at the beginning. So, in the reign of Darius, the third king, you're going to see a revolt. And this revolt involves a removal of the restraint that was put at the beginning. And this restraint is marked with the states. Because what Cyrus did is he put a restraint by taking some of the states from the Greek cities, or the Greek collection of states. Because Greece was made up of a conglomeration of states. You had the Spartans, the guys from you had the Spartans, the Hoplites, the Thracians. You had different nationalities which formed a league, like how the Soviet Union was. Do you understand? When it came to defending their sovereignty from foreign aggression. Are we together? Good. I'm going to repeat that point because people still look at me funny, right? Cyrus, at the time of the end, when he's conquering, he conquers Babylon, right? But what he does, he goes further across the sea and he besieges states in Greece. But Greece was made out of many states which were independent states, which liked freedom. They did not want to be under subjection. So when these states were put under subjection, In the third king after Cyrus, you start getting revolts. And these revolts are about reversing the gains of Cyrus at the beginning here. You see what's happening? But Darius is not happy with this move because of this revolt. So what does Darius do? He makes a huge army. Naval, right? And infantry. And then they sail across this ocean. I'm forgetting the name of the ocean. And they sail across the ocean. They get here. But when they get there, the king of the south is ready. You see? And Darius is defeated. Right? Are we together? He doesn't get an outright victory, but he leaves because he had states there that was still his. So he returns back home. But when he returns back home, what happens? He dies. Are we together? So when he dies, his son, Xerxes, he has to continue the legacy of his father. Right? So he continues the battle. He builds up his army. And when he builds up his army, he goes at Thermopylae. Right? So when he arrives at Thermopylae, there were Spartans, right? But the other Greek sovereign nations could not take part in that fight at the beginning. Why? Because they were involved in a religious festival, which was sacred to them. So they could not form a huge army to deter the invasion of the aggressor. Oh, it's called the aggressor, right? That's not the term. The term of a foreign nation that is coming against you. What's the term? Is aggressor?
Invader.
Invader. Good. The term is invader. So, at this point, there's an invasion that is marked. Right? But what happens with this invasion? Right? At the beginning of the battle, at this invasion, Xerxes appears to have ascendancy. Because what he does, he kills Leonidas.
Sorry, Brother Tendayi. Is the 490 for Thermopylae or for Marathon?
It's for Thermopylae.
For Thermopylae.
Yes. It's 490 for Thermopylae.
It's Marathon.
It's Marathon.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Thermopylae is 480.
Thermopylae and Salamis were only a few weeks apart. Marathon was 10 years before.
Okay, I just have to check that. Let me just remove the dates.
Okay.
I have to check my dates.
Yeah.
So I'll remove the 10 here. I have to check my dates again. Good. Okay. Anyway, but it doesn't do any violence to what I'm identifying. So at Thermopylae, the Medes and Persians appear to have ascendancy. Right? And when they appear to have ascendancy, they win the first part of the battle. Right? But as they move inwards, the guys who were having the festival, right, they came in. So he didn't have much progress to what he wanted to accomplish. So he still had a bone to pick. So what happens is this. He left his two generals, Xerxes. He went back home. And when he left his two generals, the two generals were responsible for starting the Battle of Plataea. And at the Battle of Plataea, they lost dismally. And the Battle of Plataea and Battle of Salamis were a few, short space between themselves. And the king of the south won. The Greek nations, they won their sovereignty in that history. It's a basic rundown. Does everyone understand that? Mm-hmm. Before we go to the United States. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
The two generals of
Xerxes, so it's like they're standing in place of Xerxes. So at this point, there is an outright loss. They lose the battle. And from there they ceased any aggression or any further invasion with the kingdom of Greece. And this Greece is the states of Greece, not Greece as the 10 kings. Are you together? Because this Greece is way before, was from Xerxes up to Alexander the Great, who establishes the kingdom of Greece. There are like 9 Persian kings, right? And Alexander will be the 10th king, right? And that's when the Greek kingdom rises actually into power. But he is identifying a conglomeration or a union of socialist republics who come together, right, for the common cause of fighting an aggressor. Right? Are we together? Okay, good. So let's go back to Daniel chapter 11, verse 2 and read the verse again.
I wanted to read Prophets and Kings.
Okay, keep holding Prophets and Kings so that I can put in place what I want to put. The first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to lay down this history. Okay, good. So verse 2, and now I will show thee the truth, and behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia. The fourth shall be far richer than they all, and by his strength and through his riches he shall stir up all against the realm of Gracia. So the fourth king shall stir up all against the realm of Gracia. Are we together? So let's go to Prophets and Kings now. Paragraph 2. Prophets and Kings, 90 paragraph 2. So is it correct? So remember, there shall yet arise 4 kings. Right? Is it okay for me to put Saul here, David, Solomon, and Rehoboam? Is it okay? Okay, good. First 4 kings of Judah or Israel, right? So Proverbs 90:2 says this: the Lord did not allow Rehoboam to carry out his policy he had outlined. Among the tribes were many thousands who had become thoroughly aroused. So, what shall the 4th king do? He shall stir up all against the Rome of Gracia. And the Rome of Gracia, right, is the story of the joining of the 2 sticks. Right? It's the story of the joining of the 2 sticks. Right? And it is represented by the number 10 as it has been identified. Right? So I'm going to read again. The Lord did not allow Rehoboam to carry out his policy. So what did Rehoboam want to do? Yeah? He wanted to continue getting richer and richer. In other words, because what had his father done, Solomon, his father Solomon had put necessary machinery for him to continue amassing wealth. If you remember the story. Right? And then the ancients of all the tribes of Judah, of Israel, came unto him saying, you need to remove the yoke that your father Solomon placed upon us. Then he first asked all the advisors. Then they gave him a proper advice. Then he said, no, let me listen to my peers. Right? And when he listened to his peers, he said the thing that he had to say, which provoked or which stirred, right, as this is saying. Right? And among the tribes were many thousand that had become thoroughly aroused over the oppressive measures of Solomon's reign. And these now felt that they could not do otherwise than rebel against the house of David. When all Israel saw that the king hearkened not unto them, the people answered the king, saying, what portion have we in David? Neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. To our tents, O Israel, now see to thine own house. David, so Israel departed to their tents. Right? And the kingdom of Greece is the United Nations, right? And the United States shall awaken all the world as did Rehoboam, the 10 tribes. Right? The number 10 being the symbol of world war is already covered. Right? Joel 3:9-14 is the story of the awakening of the multitudes in this valley. Right? in this valley from midnight cry to the son-in-law. You see these two sticks getting joined. Remember, this stone is cut out of the mountain and it hits the image, and the image of the beast, right? And when it starts hitting the image, the stone starts accumulating matter. So that also becomes another mountain at the sun-in-law going forward, right? So you see this transition of God's kingdom, the earthly kingdom, in the United Nations, in the United States, right? But what I want to get at is this. Before midnight, right? Before latte or salamis, I don't know where I got this. I don't know where, this is from the same passage, but I don't know the exact page. The breach created by the rash speech of Rehoboam proved irreparable. Right? Thanks. So the breach created by the rash speech of Rehoboam proved irreparable. Thenceforth, the 12 tribes of Israel were divided. Right? So when the 12 tribes of Israel were divided, what do you have? Two kingdoms, right? The 2 and the 10. Right? And the tribes of Judah and Benjamin composing the lower or the southern of Judah under the rulership of Rehoboam, while the 10 northern tribes formed and maintained a separate government. So what I want you to see is this. There are going to be 2 separate governments which are running, which are the children of Israel. But you see these 2 governments that are running in that time period. Known as the kingdom of Israel, with Jeroboam as their ruler. Right? And Jeroboam is the king of the 10 tribes. And who's the king of the 10 tribes? The United States. Right? Thus was fulfilled the prediction of the prophet concerning the rending of the kingdom. So there is a prediction before you get to the end of the reign. Right? Are we together? There's a prediction before you get to the end of the reign. Right? Before God marks the separation. And there's a prediction. Right? So, shortly before the close of probation at midnight, God is going to give a prediction. Right? That the kingdom is going to be separate. So there's a point where you're going to get a prediction, or a way where God is going to clarify certain things about the history of the prediction and about the history of midnight and what's coming upon God's people. Are we together? Right? Good. Okay, good. So I'm going to pause there. So keep that thought in your mind. Nice. The events that led to the fall of the Soviet Union, amongst many other things, right, include a war that was fought in the country of Afghanistan from 1979 to 1989, right? And this war was fought between the United States and Russia, or USSR, as a conglomerate, right? And as this war enraged, both countries in the geographical areas, there was no war that was happening. But this war was happening at a chosen location battle. It's like the Battle of Raphia, right? The Battle of Raphia did not happen in the respective territory of the King of the North and the King of the South, right? It happened in the city of Raphia, outside their fortresses, right? So in this battle, they're having this battle, and it takes this number of years. But at the end, or at the conclusion of this battle, you're going to have the King of the North come up in ascendancy. And when he comes up in ascendancy, he besieges or he restrains the King of the South. Right? But the King of the South, as he's already been teaching, is going to come again against the King of the North. Right? And is going to win this war. Right? But for him to come up against him, in the beginning, if they were fighting in a country which was not theirs, they have to fight again in a country which is not theirs. Right? And we've already identified that, as he has already taught, that the king of the south wins at the Battle of Raphia at midnight. Is marking at midnight. But before midnight, you have to see a period of time where the king of the north and the king of the south are again engaged in battle in a country which is not theirs. Right? And this is what is already happening in Syria at the moment with Russia and the United States. Right? Are we together? So you see this war is happening. So we are in the history when this war in Syria is already transpiring. Huh?
Are you saying in the history, or you are saying in our history, like the Marathon Salamis? Are you saying the Greeks and the Persians have issues in Syria, or you are saying in our history? I'm saying, I know.
No, in our history. I'm saying in our history.
No,
that's why I started 1989 in midnight.
No, it's okay.
Right? Yeah. That's why I said it's 1989 in midnight. So this is the history. So I'm saying, because this was 14 under the country, this has to be 14 under the country. Right?
No, I thought maybe in the actual history.
In the actual history.
Syria.
No. I'm saying here, right? Are we together? So good. So in 1989, so I'm just gonna put this history now here. Right? This midnight history back here. Good. So in 1989, at the time of the end, Cyrus, king of Persia, subjugates the king of the south, the Grecian, the conglomeration of Greek states, right? And the states of the king of the south, right? With the treaty called the Treaty of Comparative Threat Reduction. So if you're going to see in this history of the Cold War, after the Cold War from 1945, it was a race of arming each other. Each nation was arming itself and improving itself economically. And the way that they were showing that they were improving itself economically is, it's either one country will send someone to the moon, they'll do an impossible feat that the other has to be scared of, so that it has to do, right? So you see this economic battle that is happening for supremacy, because they're striving for supremacy. And then on the nuclear arsenal warfare, then they start making nuclear weapons, right? They start making sophisticated aeroplane devices. So this is a build-up which is broken here in 1989 when Cyrus subjugates the Soviet Union.
It's called the Treaty of what?
It's called the Treaty
Cooperation.
of Comparative Threat Reduction Act. Right? Comparative Threat Reduction Act. So with the Comparative Threat Reduction Act, it had terms which was now looking at disarming of the states, right? And one of the ways that the United States managed to disarm Russia is when countries like Poland were converted to capitalism, right? When the Jesuits were they were planning revolutions and then they changed the system to a democratic system, it also became under NATO. So if you had bases there that were Soviet Union bases for army, they had to be taken away. Do you get my point? That which was part of the restraint that was placed upon the king of the south, right? But this restraint now could not be held for a long time, because in past history, the king of the south always revolts, right? Okay, good. So Russia is disarmed, right? And the key battle countries and lands are subjugated, right? And one key geographical area that was important for Russian economy and Russian military was a city in Ukraine called Crimea, right? It was through Crimea where more than 60% of the gas that Russia sells to Europe passed through. So it was an important, what's the term for a key place that you need? Okay, it was an important geographical area for Russia's supremacy. It needed that, right? And it also provided the sea where they had a large naval fleet, which was facing towards NATO countries, right? Like you have Russia here, then you have a sea that's here. And if this country is separating Russia and the sea, and this country, this geographical area is and this is Crimea. And then they have a naval base with Crimea, with missiles facing NATO, right? So this land is strategic for Russian supremacy, right? So for it to regain ascendancy, this is one of the things that it needs to annex back to itself, right? So what happens in 2014? Under the reign of Darius, the tax raiser, or Obama, right? The king of the south, what's his name now? Who's the king of Russia? Putin, right? The king of the Russia, Putin, goes and annexes or goes and removes the restraint that was placed on Crimea, right? And he takes it to be his. Because he needs this gateway to economy and he needs this gateway to military supremacy. But Darius is not happy. So what does he do? Right? He has to fight. Right? And this fight culminates in the USA and Russia getting involved in the war here, in this Islamic nation. So, at the end of this, you see a reduction in the economy of Russia. You also see a reduction in its naval and army ambitions in terms of building. But here, what do you think will be happening in this history? Will there be a reduction, or there will be an arms race, a naval race, an economic race for supremacy? Because what is the name of each of the kings of these two counterparts? Rulers. So what are they contending for? Supremacy. So they have to contend for supremacy in the economic realm and in the military realm. So you see, yes. So you see this increase in nuclear warfare manufacturing, and you see this increase in trade. But the point that I don't get it, even Donald Trump, what does he say about them in making nuclear warfare? What does he say about them resuming nuclear warfare? Or resuming nuclear manufacturing? What does he say? Is he silent about nuclear warfare? What is he saying? Yeah, but how? Okay, one of the things isn't, okay, what are they doing now in Iraq? Huh? Trump bombed a certain country recently. Where did he bomb?
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan. Is it Iraq?
Yeah, Afghanistan.
Huh?
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan. So recently he bombed Afghanistan. And why is he doing this? He's flexing his muscles. Right? Remember, in this history, it was a history of flexing of muscles. Right? Up to the end when one muscular power is restrained. So here, it's a history again of flexing of muscles. Right? So, at the Battle of Thermopylae, the United States uses its great economy in its military might to go against Russia. Right? And it gains ascendancy at the beginning. Right? And I'm saying, according to the story of the prediction that is given of the fall of the division of Rehoboam and Jeroboam, you need to see before midnight, you need to see a key decisive battle where the United States goes all out in this proxy war. It appears to have subjugated the King of the South in this war. It will appear as if he is winning, like he has taken the King of the South captive, right? But the King of the South regroups, right? And it culminates in the Battle of Platay, where the United States loses a dismal failure, right? Like already as we have seen that shall be moved with coal against him, right? And shall go in, right? And he shall wipe him out. The Battle of Raphia. So you see the Battle of Raphia being the Battle of Platay in Salamis, where the King of the South comes out with outright victory, right? Does it make sense? Mm-hmm. The hands up.
So you're saying Darius is Obama?
Yes.
And Marathon really happened?
Yes. Oh, we are in, but there is series. This battle was not a day. It was an instantaneous, it was a build-up.
So it began in the time of Obama?
Yes.
It still continued?
I can say that it ended when Obama died. Right? By dying, yes. Yeah.
I don't know. When you look at terminology in warfare, how I understand it is you have a war between two nations and a series of battles involved in that one war. So you'll find that marathon, even in the history of the Greco-Persian War, was just a battle, but it didn't conclude the wars between Greece and Persia. So in the repeat history, that battle actually took place, and it's past. But the Russia-US war is still going on.
That's what I was asking.
Oh, okay.
The battle, so it already happened.
You might not have, the thing is with these things, you might not have the specific details now, but I'm saying, based upon what happened in past history, that has happened because Obama is already gone. So I mean, if you're going to dig in, because this is something that you're still grappling with, if you're going to dig into the history of the war in Syria, I think you can come up with something. Right? In terms of the budgets that Obama used, those things are available. On the budget that he had against, in the amount of time that he invested in fighting this war in Syria. Right. Good. Do you have another hand?
Yes, there's something I wanted to ask about. At first you made an illustration of Persia, right? Being on that other side and having to cross over to that other side so they could fight the Christian states. And then now you put Russia.
Yeah.
I want to understand.
Okay. It is almost like the same geographical, but it is not a substitution or typification. I'm just saying in terms of Russia and Crimea, that's the setup. Because Russia is, Crimea separates Russia and an important or pivotal or strategic naval base that Russia needs to use.
So this time it's Russia that is having to annex Crimea.
So Crimea is not under Russia as we speak. It's not under Russian control. Since 2014. So it's now in the hands of Russia. And it needs Russia for economy. So it needs Crimea for its economic pursuits, and it needs Crimea for its military pursuits. Yeah.
So the annexation of Crimea was a breach of contract of the Treaty of Comparative.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Because those part of the settlements. Right. But I'm using it in terms of very strange and the loosening. Right. Does it make sense? I mean, you need to go and read the history because you read the history. But I wanted to go on a step-by-step fashion. That verse 2 of Daniel chapter 11 is more than what meets the eye. Right? And it is giving you the specific intricacies from Obama up to midnight. And it is marking another battle that is going to take place. That is a waymark that is before midnight, which is the Battle of Thermopylae. And we're saying line upon line, based upon other prophecies and other studies, that we know that from the 7 thunders of summer snow that we have a prediction before midnight. Right? And we now know that from the story of Jeroboam. I could have done it, but I now know because like time is not on my side. I could have done the story of Jeroboam to show you that there was also a prediction before midnight. But something that you go and read when you those prophets and kings is there, it's clear. Sister White will give you things in a nice way. Right? Are we together? So let me put this in a nutshell now. So we are saying, how many minutes? Because I'm tired.
You have 18 minutes.
18 minutes. Nice. So the good thing is, right, so this is a historical event that happened. And it's the history of how these things take place as we near the close of human population. Right? Yes, sir.
So you're saying that the proxy war that's going on right now between the US and Russia began in the time of Obama?
Yes, it did.
Oh.
2015.
So that marks the beginning of the Battle of Marathon. Well, the Battle of Marathon is the annexation of Crimea. Is the annexation of Crimea the Ionian revolt?
Yes.
Okay. Which one is the Battle of Marathon?
Obama coming now to fight.
Oh, okay.
Getting angry.
Okay. That
Because
was
of
the proxy war.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how I understand it. Yes, madam.
Isn't when during the kings of Middle Persia,
Yes.
Xerxes is lying with Samuel, but then why have you put the battle of Platisans in it?
Yes, what you're saying is true. Right? But how is Xerxes marked at the sign of the in terms of, if you're going to be identifying Xerxes as Trump, or this current administration that is established here, that becomes the king of the 10 kings, that would be correct. Because immediately after this comes Greece. So you need to, this is what has been clarified. In the strictest sense, what you have said cannot be correct. Right? But if you're going to be applying it, as I'm saying that, here, what happens to the United States? It begins to fall. And it begins to give rise to the United Nations, to Greece. This Greece is different from this Greece that we identified before midnight. Do you see that? Yes. This Greece only comes here. As a kingdom is noted in the Bible prophecy. Right? Before that, these are states. These are just states, which is conglomeration of states which are there. Right? But before you get to Greece, the United States has to begin falling. Let me just put this way. The United States begins falling. This is the USA. And it falls at the sun below. And then Greece now begins its rise. And becomes a kingdom here. You see what's happening? So you see this, that's why we're identifying that when Rehoboam steered against the kingdom of Grecia, you see there's 2 parallel kingdoms that are separated. And instead of saying that these are 2 different governments. But we know that the king of Greece will be the United States. Right? But let me go to where I wanted to go. So in the book of Daniel, right, we get evidence concerning the time of the end. Right? And we have shown correctly that the time of the end, all the time of the ends that Brother Ryan has been identifying of sacred history are pointing you to this point in 1989. Right? And beginning the history of the two-one power of the United States. And in the book of Daniel, from Daniel chapter 7 up to Daniel chapter 12, is a special emphasis of the United States. Daniel 7 is the story of the United States. Why did you say Daniel chapter 7 is the story of the United States? Verse 1. What does verse 1 of Daniel chapter 7 say?
First year Belshazzar.
Who's Belshazzar? Is a second ruler. Right? And the United States is second fiddle to the papacy. Under one head, the papal power. Right? So the Medes and Persians are second fiddle. So you know that at that point, the United States becomes a subject of Bible prophecy because God is now visiting his people. Right? Are you together? Then you went to Daniel chapter 8. In Daniel chapter 8, what did you identify? In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, which was like unto the first. Then he says, and I saw a vision. What did you see when you see the vision? When it was by Elam, Shushan, that I said Elam. What does it see? A ram. And what is the ram? The Medes and the Persians. Right? But it's the time of the end, because from the 1st year of Belshazzar to the 3rd year of Belshazzar is 2 years. So it's placing you back to the time of the end. Then what did we do? We went to Daniel chapter 9. And what does Daniel chapter 9 say? In the 1st year of Darius, I understood what? By books, Daniel chapter 8. Right? But what is the 1st year of Darius?
The 3rd year of Belshazzar.
Yeah, but in terms of the time of the end. We are saying the book of Daniel is identifying the time of the end. So it takes you back to the time of the end. Daniel 10 verse 1, where does it take you? To the 3rd year. So you see this twos. Placing you back to the time of the end. And when Gabriel is now explaining to him, what does he say? I'm going to stand with the prince of Persia. But who's going to come next? King Grecian. So he's telling him now, he's now beginning to clarify the things that are going to happen to his people at the end of days. And Daniel is given a promise in Daniel chapter 12 that is going to stand at the end of the days. So Daniel is standing here in 1989 and he begins to eat the book. Right? And he understands clearly at the beginning of the history that a shadow is coming at the Sunday law. But he has no clarity of the exact intricacies of the events that are happening in between. Right? So Gabriel has to come back again. This way. Yes. So Gabriel has to come back again. So in Daniel chapter 11 verse 1, what does it say? In the 1st year, which is what? The time of them. So it's taking you back here. What does it say? They shall yet arise 3 kings. Right? In the 4th of the far region. Right? So it's now giving you the history from the time of the end, the number of kings that usher in the Sunday law in the United States. Right? Then it takes us to verse 5. And what does verse 5 up to verse 13 identify? Huh? It takes you back, right? It takes you back. It gives you the story of the conquering of Seleucus.
Lysimachus.
No. In terms of the general of the prince. What's his name? The general.
Seleucus and Ptolemy.
Yeah, Ptolemy, Sota, and what's his name? Seleucus what?
Seleucus Nicator.
Nicator. It gives the story of Seleucus Nicator of Rome rising into power, giving you the story of the time of the end. Story of the rise of Rome in the beginning. That takes you to the time of the end, where you have those 35 years, which takes you to 1798. But that battle ensues on, taking you to 1989. This is already shown, right? You've already shown that, right? It's already shown that. Then from 1989, it takes you to Battle of Raphia. You just confirm in my notes.
10 years.
Yeah, it's fine. Right? It takes you to it takes you to 1989, where you see these two sons marked. Seleucus C something and Antiochus the Great. So you keep seeing this number 2 in 1989. These 2 sons, right? Reagan and Bush, which were together. One is president, one is vice president. Right? Then it takes you to Raphia and the Midnight Cry. But then verse 14 has been identified. It gives you more flesh. What does verse 14 identify? The robbers of thy people. Right? So he sees the rise of modern Rome in this history. So he's given everything in its exact order. But what we are saying is this: in 1989, what did God reveal to his people? The last 6 verses of Daniel chapter 11. And what do the last 6 verses of Daniel chapter 11 identify?
Events leading to the Sunday law and the close of probation.
Yeah, events leading to the Sunday law and probation, but does it give you the events? It gives you how many events to the Sunday law?
3 waymarks.
3 events, right? But that's the first message. Right? In every generation, the first message tells you of what's coming at the end, at the Sunday law, right? But because God unseals truths, as God begins to unseal truths, He gives you necessary information that is required for you to unlock all the things that you need to know prior to the shut door at midnight. That is why now God is showing us now, through verse 2 of Daniel chapter 11, all the way that we were missing. Through verse 2, we were missing this 1, 2, 3, 4 kings that were coming. And God put that into place, that no, there are going to be 4 kings, students of prophecy. Right? And he said, but since there are going to be 4 kings, I've already taught you about midnight and the midnight cry. Prediction before midnight, 9/11. Right? All these things, they can be marked in this history. That's why this verse now continue to ensue. Right? Up to the close. Because remember, when I began, I read a quote from Volume 13 of Manuscript Releases, page 394, identifying that we are living at the time of the end, or something like that. We have no time to instruct ourselves before us. The world is steered with the spirit of war. Soon the sins of prophets spoken of in the 11th chapter of Daniel will take place. etc. Right? So it shows you that this history of Daniel chapter 11, at the beginning, those who came in this message, before we had all the light that we have now, the main emphasis of Daniel chapter 11, right? And that quote was a quote that we used to use a lot. And if I am correct, Elder Jeff, around 1995, was already identifying that if Seventh-day Adventists had known Daniel 11 verse 40, they could have given a prediction which was going to give a power to the message. And now we are going to give a prediction about the king of the north and the king of the south, which is going to give power to this message. But this prediction should have been given here at the beginning, right? But now it is now given at the appointed time. Though it tarry, wait for it. In the end, it shall speak, and it's going to speak here. Right? Are we together? So I'm going to close here. Shall we hold him? Dear Father in heaven, we thank you so much for your love and your kindness. We have had a long week end of studying. What we know that is we need more time as Daniel to study these things and study these histories. We now have a proper understanding of what William Miller, maybe glimpses, not yet proper, of what Miller identifies that history and prophecy don't agree, and that the most important role for you must have faith in God's word. That you take care of translation. If you can feed the sparrows, then you can take care of translation. Give us faith, the faith that Miller had in your word, that everything is noted in your word, is already mentioned by Gabriel centuries ago, that he's telling us what is noted in the word of Scripture. We thank you for the old people that are amongst us. We thank you for our parents that are amongst us. And we thank you for the young ones that are amongst us. Give us all alike love for one another, but especially what I'm praying for is that we come together, all nation not desired, that we might study these things and eat these things before that great and dreadful day at midnight. Give us that heart to study and give us the necessary environment, as the necessary environment that you gave Moses when he was with his father-in-law in Midian. We need this environment, we need this change in environment, we need this time to study this word. Give us more time, give us the necessary resources, and give us the energy to comprehend these things. If we have sin that is besetting us from receiving this word, O Lord, help us, O Lord. And like Josiah, teach us, O Lord, the lesson of Josiah, that we need to turn to you with all our heart and all our power and all our might. For all this, Father, we pray. And we pray, Father, that through your grace and through the work that your Son is doing for us at this moment, we pray for this blessing corporately on an individual basis. We pray for all this in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.